In this episode of Interview, we're joined by Mitch Lowe, one of the founding executives at Netflix, someone who's been at the forefront of the video entertainment industry pretty much from the beginning. Mitch, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
How have you seen the video rental industry in particular evolve over the decades?
It really started out, even going back to the early days of cinema, in a kind of an a la carte model, where people had to make a decision on whether going to the movies or renting a VHS or a DVD was worth it. And it evolved into a subscription, which did all kinds of positive things. It took away that tough decision of, is this worth my time and money, to now exploring content and getting exposed.
Now, you were one of the founding executives of Netflix. How was it to be part of that history?
We had no idea, that we would, be a household name. No one knew Netflix would become a verb. And I remember we used to make bets on how big we could get. And I said, God, if we could just get to 1.7 million subscribers, that would be amazing. And of course, today it's 100 times that, 180 plus million.
What was the impact of companies such as Apple, other streaming sites, Stars Play is one that we have here in the Middle East, right. Disney, how was that competition and how do you think it was handled by Netflix?
We never were ever looked at competition. We never ever, except once, even evaluated the competitor. And that was, in fact, in the UK, when Netflix opened in the UK. Yeah. And then we heard that Amazon was coming in, and that was the one competitor that terrified us in those days, and so we closed down the whole operation.
I mean, you went from Netflix to MoviePass. Mm-hmm. Now, tell me about that move, because at the height of your time there, you had millions of subscribers, and this, I guess, was a subscription service, but more for cinemas.
Yeah.
But then something kind of went wrong, and it dropped to like 300,000 subscribers.
Right. Well, I thought we could do the same in cinemas that we did at Netflix, which was take away the barriers of experimentation and discovery. And lo and behold, it grew too fast. We grew, in 8 months, we had 3.3 million paying subscribers. And it was just too much, so we imploded. At 9 months into it, our investors said, okay, no more. What I should have done is controlled growth.
Well, another big challenge that we have at the minute is COVID. That's having a huge impact, especially on movie theaters in particular. Tell me how you think it's impacted the sector.
Hopefully, it's not a long-term, impact or a permanent impact. So I'm hoping theaters will at least come back and understand they need to evolve. MoviePass was an attempt to try to shake up the cinema, to understand consumers need more than movies. Our attention span is getting shorter and shorter. We don't want to go into a theater and sit for 2 hours in the dark, and watch a movie. Why not have binge Thursdays where you can watch all of the Stranger Things episodes for 6 hours?
But financially as well, though, and economically, can they survive it? The romanticism of going to the cinema is all very well and good, but how are they going to financially keep afloat?
Yeah, well, I think they have to be innovative in the content. And I think it all comes down to recognizing people do want to get out and interact socially in big groups, assuming there's a vaccine, but they don't want to just see 2-hour movies. Why not have sporting events? Why not have gaming events?
Where do you think the industry here in the Middle East and UAE and Dubai in particular, sits globally within the industry? How important is the sector here?
One of the greatest things that I see with streaming sites like Netflix is this cross-pollination of content. And I think with all the youth and all the creative, content creators in the Middle East, there's the ability to grow a big industry of really interesting TV shows and movies that could be popular anywhere. And so it comes down to, really allowing the creative community to create content and distribute it.
Now, you're here in Dubai for something quite exciting.
Yeah.
Tell me about the pitch in the sky and how on earth you got involved.
It is a record-breaking event. There's entrepreneurs all over the Middle East and Africa who have submitted their proposal for seed capital. And as there was 4 of us as judges. We narrowed it down to a group of 10. And then we had each of them give their pitch on a Zoom call.
Jumping out of a plane.
And then we brought that group down to 3 and brought those 3 up on a plane with us to give their final pitch. In fact, they are giving their final pitch in a 60-second drop from the sky. So the winner will end up jumping out of the plane.
What advice would you give to those entrepreneurs, in terms of what it takes to actually make it?
There's all the things you hear all the time, perseverance and, the getting good people around you, high integrity. You have to keep momentum. You have to keep improving, bringing your investors along, bringing your team along, little bit, and not go too fast or too slow.
Bringing it back to the entertainment sector, the million-dollar question, what do you think the future holds?
COVID definitely has increased people's consumption of entertainment, and I think it's helped people live through this very difficult time. I think the future, is really healthy. I don't know about you, but I've had times where I started watching a series at 10 o'clock at night thinking I'll be done at midnight. And then 5 hours later, I realized there's a whole nother season. And so, I think at a certain point, we reach a breaking point. Reed Hastings one time was asked about competition. And he said, my biggest competitor is sleep. If people just didn't have to sleep, they could consume more Netflix series. And I think he's right.
Mitch Lowe, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank
Great
you.
talking to you.
Thank you.
you.
Thanks.